Hey, my name is Jobby, and this figure is Takara Tomi's desperate attempt to get some money off of this mold. Because let's ask ourselves an honest question: who gives a fuck about Slug? The Transformers Adventure Slug is a repaint of the Transformers animated Snarl, who is the Transformers animated version of the G1 character, Dinobot Slag. Now, why does this particular Dinobot have so many name changes? Well, back in the 80s, Slag seemed like a good enough name. After all, it was a real word describing the waste material produced during the smelting process of metal. Thank you very much, Google. And with this definition in mind, Slag seems like an appropriate name for a giant robot that turns into a fire-breathing Triceratops. But it seems that the person who named this character was not aware of the word's double meaning, because slag, as it turns out, is an offensive word in the UK. It roughly translates into slut. Of course, Hasbro decided to rename this character. After all, they couldn't afford to lose a dime over this insanely popular character. They went from taking the name of another Dinobot to finally changing one letter of the original name. And now he's Slug. But enough with the filler, what about the character himself? Well, he's got no voice and no personality, who cares? The painting and the sculpting on this figure of this nothing character is pretty awesome. Now, the original version of this figure had a bright color scheme that harkened back to his G1 design. But this repaint, with its beautiful combination of purple, red, and black, is a direct homage to everyone's best friend. In other words, it has the same color scheme as the Transformers Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Slug, which I briefly covered in my Age of Extinction Dinobots review from way back when. And while I thought this figure was the color scheme was something that really worked for me, so I'm actually glad to see it carry over to this sculpt, which I prefer. You know, it's a shame that the Transformers animated toy line ended so soon, because, well, I missed out on most of it, and the exaggerated proportions, such as this figure's barrel chest and tiny leg, is something that I miss. Something about the build quality and the bright colors of that line filled it with so much personality, and I'm sure that owes a great deal to the expressive head sculpt. It's ironic how much character this figure has, because the character in the show is boring as fuck. Now let's talk about his many accessories. No. Zero. Nada. My self-esteem. This figure comes with absolutely nothing. And you know what? It's not a big deal, but if you push this button, he's got some kind of weapon. That's alright. And on the topic of gimmicks involving transparent plastic, not my finest segue, it seems like you have some light piping on this figure. And for those of you who don't know, light piping is when you have a piece of transparent plastic on a figure's head that light can pass through, simulating glowing eyes. And I love it. It's a good alternative to LEDs. But why have a piece of transparent plastic if you're just gonna paint over the eyes? I don't understand. Why do you do this to me? Apparently, the original figure had this problem too, where they painted over the light piping. It's something that could have easily been fixed in the repaint. Give me my glowing eyes. It's baffling, but not terrible. The eyes look fine. But what I can't forgive is this figure's lack of and that's all you get for the head. Rotation at the arm moves up, bicep no, bend at the elbow, wrist with no, finger moves and thumb moves. Technically, there's no waist swivel, but you could kind of fake one by opening up his ass and doing it that way. I gotta get my fix somehow. Rotation at the leg, bend at the knee, ankle forget about it, and that's about it unless you count the flapping wings, but now I'm just getting desperate. So it should be apparent that the posability on this figure is not that great. And look, I get it. Not every figure's posability could be on par with Figma, and sometimes design compromises have to be made for transformation. Also, more joints probably cost more money to produce. I get it. But come on. No bicep swivel, no thigh swivel, no wrist swivel? I'm just asking for the bare minimum here. Now, I know this is a hot topic for some of you people, but debate it in the comments. I would like to know about this important discussion. This is an important conversation that we need to have. Hashtag minimum swivels. Let's do some size comparisons. Here's Figma Madoka Anime, SH Monster Arts Godzilla, Masterpiece Optimus Prime, the Transformers Adventure Lockdown, and the Transformers Age of Extinction Slug. These guys do not look too bad together. Now, if I wanted more posability on this figure, I'm definitely not gonna find it in his Dino mode. But it doesn't mean it's bad. And here we have his Triceratops mode, which is the mode that this figure comes packaged in. But because I'm not a professional, I started off with his robot mode, don't judge me. This mode looks great, the colors are working for me, the proportions are appropriately stocky and fat, and his head sculpt is just mwah! And don't worry about losing an eye, the horns are not very sharp. Or maybe I spoke too soon. The head is enhanced by those red accents, and it's adorned with an Autobot symbol. And if we move all the way back to his back legs, you can see he's got another Autobot symbol. And it's one of those symbols that's scannable. According to the comments of the Transformers Adventure Lockdown review, this is meant to include the scan character into some kind of game, which I would be totally on board with if I was 10 years old and had no friends. Only thing that I can consider a negative is the obvious head. But they took the effort to hide the face, and if you don't focus on the part, doesn't look too bad at all. The rest of the mode is completely kibbleless save for these fists on the back of his legs, but again, not really noticeable. And the posability of this mode is just as limited as the robot, if not more so. But the head can move up, mouth opens, leg can move back but not forward, rotation at the back legs, backwards bend, and that's it. I can't complain too much about it. This is pretty much in line with most beast modes out there. I've just been spoiled these past few weeks. So in the transformation from robot to dinosaur, not only does the figure lose some swivels, but it also loses a couple of inches. Godzilla Prime, Lockdown, and Slug. This figure's dino mode was so good that I considered it better than the robot mode, but this figure, I'd put it at the same level. But overall, this figure's good. It's a beautifully painted and solid figure with some below average posability, but a fun transformation and 2 good modes. If you really wanted this guy, I'd say get it, but for me, it's a pretty indifferent pass. I could live with or without it. Or you could buy it if you're a toy reviewer desperate for content and the tax season fucked you up. Big selling point of this figure is literally its selling point. The price is affordable. Now, I thought I would relate to this character a lot more, seeing as both of our names are offensive in the UK, because apparently, Jobby means shit in Scotland. And as you can tell from my cancerous content, I'm living up to my name.